Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
जी सर, अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
सलाम सर।
मेरी स्क्रीन नजर आ रही है आपको?
जी सर, बिल्कुल।
So today we will start a new topic, that is regarding the discharge measurement. So this is also linked with the topic of river survey, as we have discussed that during a river survey, different type of data is collected. And last time in the last lecture we discussed how the data of water level and bed levels it is collected through various instruments. Now we come to a very important parameter of discharge measurement. How discharge is measured through different techniques, methods, or devices. So starting with the definition of discharge itself. So for a layman, it is just the flow of water in an open channel, but technically we call it as discharge, and simply it can be defined that the volume of water which is passing at a specified point per unit time. So if we are measuring volume in a given interval of time, so that will be known as the discharge or the flow of water. So two types of units will be used. One, the units of volume in which the water passing at a specified point is being measured, and the unit of time. So the commonly used units which are used for discharge measurement, they are like liters per second. Liters, it denotes the volume, and second, the unit of time. So how many liters are passing in a unit time, that is per second, or we can measure it in cubic meters per second, that is cubics, or the old FPS system in Q6 foot cube per second. So these are the commonly used units for the discharge measurement. So how we can measure the discharge? So we can employ different methods of discharge determination. So if we somehow measure the velocity, then just multiplying it by the cross-sectional area, we can determine the discharge. As we know that Q is equal to V into A. Discharge is equal to velocity into cross-sectional area. So if we measure the velocity, we can multiply it with the cross-sectional area and we can determine the discharge. So this can be one method of discharge determination. Just measure the velocity by any method or means by using devices or instruments and just multiply by the given cross-sectional area, you will get the discharge. The second method of discharge determination can be that you pass all the flow through a measurement device and you directly measure it, like a flow meter or some other device like a wear or a flume, where you route all your flow through that device and you directly measure it. So this can be another method. Third method can be uh, charge can be determined indirectly by using appropriate measurements and mathematical models. So for the scope of this class, we'll be more focusing on the first two methods, that is how velocity can be measured, so that we can measure the discharge by just multiplying that velocity with the given cross-sectional area. And second, what are the devices or instruments available through which we can route the flow and measure the discharge directly. So we can classify the method of discharge measurement into basically two classes, the conventional methods or the traditional methods, and second, the advanced techniques or more sophisticated techniques. So in the conventional methods or the traditional methods, again we can subclassify into two classes, the direct methods and the indirect conventional methods. Under the direct conventional methods, we can use the velocity area methods, which employ the use of current meter in order to measure the velocity. Second direct conventional method is again velocity area method, but by using floats. Again, float will measure the velocity, and measuring by this measured velocity, we'll multiply it by the given cross-sectional area and we get the discharge. And third, direct conventional method are the dilution methods, in which we use a tracer or a dye and we measure its concentration, which is directly linked with the discharge. So other subclassification of conventional methods are the indirect methods. So under the indirect methods, we can use the slope area method. Especially it is used once the flood peak has passed, and we can use this slope area method by using Manning's equation or Chase's equation, so or Cutter's equation. These can be used to measure the discharge indirectly. Then we can make use of the stage discharge relationships, that is the rating curves, and if we just measure the stage or the water height or depth, you can get the discharge through the rating curves. And lastly, the indirect method can be by making use of the hydraulic structures. So hydraulic structures can also be used for measuring the discharge. So these are the conventional or traditional methods. Beside these conventional methods, we have also some advanced techniques or more sophisticated techniques. So these are the moving boat methods, the ultrasonic or the acoustic method, where the acoustic pulse or acoustic signals are used to measure the discharge, and we make use of the electromagnetic waves also in order to determine the discharge. So these ultrasonic or the electromagnetic methods, they are seldom or rarely used as they are expensive, and also they need a lot of care and calibration, so they are rarely used. But the other methods, the conventional methods, they are more commonly used. So before we discuss how we measure the discharge, there are some terms which we'll be using time and again. So first we will define those terms and then we will go to the discharge measurement. So first we are using the terminology of stage, and stage we have already discussed in the previous lecture that it is the height of water surface which is measured above a fixed datum, which can be a survey bench or it can be above mean sea level. Then we use a term rating. So rating, it is the relationship between two parameters, that is the stream stage and discharge. So when we plot these two parameters, we get a rating curve, which is actually a relationship between the stage and discharge, and against one stage there is one value of discharge. So it is one-to-one relationship. Then the third term, which we'll be oftenly using in context with the discharge measurement, is the channel controls. So channel controls, these are the features that results in a one-to-one relationship between the two parameters which we discussed in the rating curve, that is the stage and the discharge. So any features, they may be natural or artificial, that results in one-to-one relationship between these two parameters, they are known as the channel control. And if the features are natural, so obviously that will be known as the natural channel control. And if they are artificial or man-made, then this will be known as the channel control. And channel control, there are three types of channel controls. So we'll discuss them in the coming slide. So first control is the section control. So as I told you, there are three types of controls: a section control, a channel control, and then a floodplain control. So depending on the stage or the water depth or the water level, these controls changes from one control to the other. So first we will discuss one by one these three types of controls. The section control, we define it as a specific cross-section of a stream channel. So this is located downstream from a water level gauge, and that is controlling the relationship between the gauge height and the discharge. So this is giving us one-to-one relationship between the stage and the discharge. So a section control, this can be a natural feature, just like a rock ledge, a sandbar, a swale construction in the channel, or even where the debris accumulate. So where you see that the section, it constricts, it narrows down, there a section control is made. So these are natural features. Just we have defined a rock ledge or a sandbar or a swale construction in the channel, or the construction due to the accumulation of debris, which reduces the flow area and results in a natural section control. Likewise, these features can also be artificial or man-made. If we construct a small dam, a weir, a flume, or an overflow spillway. So these man-made features, what we are doing, we are also constricting the waterway. By constricting the waterway, velocity increases and a section control is developed. So these section control, you can visualize them. You can just identify them while in a field. You can see when you hear the water drops from a fall and you listen to the sound of the water falling. So you will observe a ripple has been created. That is, it is a pronounced drop in the water surface as the flow is passing over that control. You can see the example of a section control in the bottom given figure. So just the fall where you see water falling down through a pronounced drop, and you will see the water falling noise also. So you can visualize it with naked eye. You can see this section control if you travel along a natural river or a stream, or you can see a construction due to the debris, the stones, they reduce the waterway, and there you can see a section control is formed. So these are the natural section controls, as these are being formed by the natural features. But if we are constructing a small dam or we are installing a weir or a flume, so we are ourselves creating a section control. We are creating the construction of the waterway and we are giving it a drop, so a section control is formed. Then the second type of control is the channel control. So channel control, it consists of a combination of features. So it is just not the section of a channel, but downstream from the gauge, you will see that if you combine different features of the channel, this develops a channel control. So these features can be the channel size, its shape, its curvature, its slope, and roughness. So how much the length of the channel reach is controlled by the channel control, it is extremely variable. So for example, if you have a relatively steep channel, so the channel control will be relatively a short channel reach. Whereas if you have a relatively flat channel, so this may be controlled by a channel control of longer channel reach length. So also the length of the channel which will be controlled by this channel control, it depends on the magnitude of flow, the quantity of flow, how much the flow is taking place in that reach. So it is very difficult to exactly say that how much section of a reach is being controlled by this channel control. So it can only be determined through numerical methods, but we don't have any numerical formula to exactly give you that this is the reach which will be controlled by this particular channel control, because it is made up of a number of features. And beside these features like channel size, shape, curvature, slope, and roughness, also the channel control depends on the magnitude of flow taking place in that reach. So that's why it becomes very complex to exactly define how much reach will be controlled by this specific channel control. Then the third type is the floodplain channel control. That is, if you see the bottom figure and if you plot the discharge and stage on a log scale, so you see with the lower levels of stages, the channel is controlled by the section control. But when the stage it is raised up, it rises. So there is a breakpoint where the control changes from section control to main channel control. And if still the stage is rising, that is water level is rising, and the water spills on the flood plains, then another breakpoint or a change in control will take place, and the channel will be not be controlled by the main channel, but now it will be controlled by the floodplain channel control. So you see, with the rising of stage, the channel control changes from section control to main channel control and then to floodplain channel control. So this you will see that the at some stages this relationship between the two parameters, discharge and stage, it is governed by a combination of these three types of section controls, the section and the control channel controls. So this three changes occurs in a very short range of stage rising. As you can see, a flat curve, it does not rise very steeply. So just in a short range, in the values changes in the stage, the control changes from one to the other. And there are breakpoints which are actually the indicating the control changes, that when the section control is taken over by the main channel control, and then with the further rise in state, the control is now being given to the flood plain channel control. So these are the three types of controls which can be natural or artificial, which which are changing in a very short range in the state values. Now coming to the selection of a gauging site, there we should measure the discharge, because all reaches or all sites, they are not appropriate to measure the discharge. So there are some essential requirements for stream gauging where we can measure the discharge. So these are some guidelines how to select a gauging site. First of all, we have to consider the factor of permanence of control. That is, a control should exist, whether it can be a natural or an artificial control, but that control should be of permanent nature. तो ऐसा कंट्रोल ना हो कि हम 6 महीने के बाद आए तो वो कंट्रोल चेंज हो चुका हो. The control should be of permanent nature, whether it is artificial or natural, because this control is giving us the one-to-one relationship between the stage and the discharge. So this is very essential requirement for a selection of a gauging site, that the control should be of permanent nature. Then there should be opportunity to install an artificial control in case if no natural control exists. So there should be opportunity that we can either construct a small dam or install some weir or install a flume, so that we have an artificial control. Then third essential requirement should be that there should be no possibility of backwater effect from downstream tributaries or other sources. So we should not be having a gauging site where there are joining of two tributaries, and if we have the gauging site upstream, then there will be backwater effect, because at the confluence it will be causing backwater effect, and if you have a gauging site, it will be disturbing the one-to-one relationship between stage and the discharge. So there should be no backwater effect. Then there should be availability of a good metering station where good discharge measurements can be made. Then also there should be opportunity to place a water level recorder, so that you can record all the fluctuations of water level, and also it should be free from debris and floating matter. So also you have to see that these gauging site should have a proper placement of stage gauge, so that we can record all fluctuations of water level, and there should be no debris or the floating material. Then another essential requirement is the suitability of existing structures for making use when there is flood type conditions. So we can have to use, if we have to use these existing structures, we can use them for having the flood discharge measurements. Or if no structures exist there, so there should be availability of a site where we can have a cableway, so that from the cableway we can make the discharge measurement. Then another essential requirement is that there should be no possibility of flow bypassing the gauging site in groundwater or in flood channels. So because you want to have the total discharge measured, so it should not be that there is some bifurcation and you are measuring the discharge on one of the bifurcation. So it should be above the bifurcation, so that you measure all the discharge. And if you want to have the individual discharge measurement on those bifurcations, so you have to install other gauges on the bifurcations. Then as you have to record all the data, So there should be availability of power lines or telephone lines, because you will be installing some instruments, the data loggers or the sensors that needs power, the electricity, and you have to transmit data. So telephone lines should be available, but nowadays it can be transmitted directly through the satellites. So uh, that we have another advantage now, that if we have just the chips placed in your mobiles or in your office, through the telemetry, direct transmission of data can take place through this telemetric system. Then there should be accessibility of the site by roads, especially during the flood seasons. The road should be Pakka roads, paved roads. There you can easily reach the site, because if you can't reach the site, you won't be able to measure the discharge or read the gauge, what is the stage at that time. So the accessibility to the site is very important. So there should be suitable roads available, so that all the round year you can reach your gauging site. Then due to paucity of funds, as funds are not unlimited, there are limited funds available. So economic construction, it should be possible that the structures or the site you are selecting, it should be as economical as possible to be completed within the stipulated funds. Then coming to the hydraulic structures, which can be used for discharge measurement, we can install weirs, different type of weirs. Like in the figure, you can see the rectangular weir and V notches. So all the flow or will of the stream, it will be routed through these weirs, and you can measure the discharge which is passing through these hydraulic structures. Then you can also install flumes. Various types of flumes are available, like partial flume or the cutthroat flume or WSC, Washington State College flumes. So these are available. So you can install this, and again, the principle is that all the flow is routed or passed through these devices, and you can measure the discharge. So these fumes can be made up of metallic material if they are smaller, or you can construct them using masonry or the concrete as well. So these can be permanent hydraulic structures to measure the discharge, or especially for small streams. So here is a photograph of a weir, so rectangular weir. So you see that is a permanent hydraulic structure, and you can measure the discharge by just measuring the head upstream, and with the help of a formula like Q is equal to CD H 3 by 2, आपने BSc क्लासेस में पढ़ा होगा. So wear के formula for different types of wears, the rectangular or the V notches. So simply you have to measure the head upstream, and just substituting the value of head in the formula, you can determine the discharge. Here is another photograph. It also shows you the stilling well in which the water level recorder has been placed. So I will discuss it in the coming slides. So this photograph again shows you two weirs through which the water is being routed, and just measuring the head, you can determine the discharge. So this is a partial flume. So here you see a small stream, especially like a water course, खाले में अगर आप install कर दें. So here you see a converging section. So all the water is routed through this partial flume. So first a converging section, then a throat, and then you see a diverging section. And here you see the water level recorder and a drum on which a graph paper is mounted. So this can record all the fluctuations in the water level, which is passing through this partial flume. So again, by measurement of head upstream, especially in the free flow conditions, we can accurately measure the discharge. But if it is a submerged condition, then your accuracy will be compromised, and you have to then measure head downstream as well and use a different formula. So these weirs and flumes, these are commonly used, especially on small streams and rivers. So they cannot be used for rivers like Ravi, Jhelum, Chenab, Satluj, or Indus. So we can't have weirs such of length or the flume which can be installed. But if you have a small stream like small rivers, so there you can install weir and flumes to measure the discharge. So these weirs and flumes, they are rigid, they are stable structures, and they have closely defined cross-sectional area. And the velocity of falling water, it depends on what is the height of fall and the acceleration due to gravity, which is a constant. So therefore, it is possible to estimate the velocity of water by causing water to fall over a weir or a flume and measure head of water at an appropriate point upstream. So the discharge through weir notch, that is primarily dependent on the head, that is the value of which is measured from the lowest point of the crest to the surface of the stream at a discharge upstream from the weir plate, so that it is not affected by the turbulence which is taking place due to the drawdown near the weir. So at a suitable upstream place, you measure the discharge. So here I will illustrate with the help of these figures. So you see a V notch, a 90-degree V notch. So all the flow is being led through in this ponding basin, and there is a stilling log, so that any turbulence which is created, that is all mitigated, and then you have a stilling well. So in the stilling well, you see there are two inlet pipes through which the water enters into the stilling well, and the water level in the stilling well is the same as that in the stream. And at some suitable place, you have placed a water level recorder, and there is a float which we discussed last time, the water level recorder. So float and a counterweight over a pulley. So when the water level will rise, the float will go up, counterweight will come down, and the water level will be recorded on the recording mechanism. So you can measure the head and find out what is the discharge by a suitable formula of V notch, which is generally like Q is equal to CD, the discharge coefficient, multiplied by the head raised to power some coefficient like 3 by 2 or 5 by 2, and you can find the discharge. So weirs, there are two main types, the sharp crested weir and the broad crested weir. So from the name is clear, a weir which is have a sharp crest is known as the sharp crested, and where the crest is broader is known as the broad crested weir. So V notch is actually a sharp crested weir which can measure the discharge if it fluctuates and so it is more suitable if your discharge is fluctuating. So it will record or measure all the low, medium, or the high discharges. So it is very suitable for the wide range of flow rates. So in the V notch where there is decrease in the flow area, that will cause decrease in the head, and even a small flow rate that can reasonably be recorded. So this type of V notch wear, which is sharp crested wear, is very suitable for even measuring low flows. Flumes. So again, flumes, they will be available in the various shapes. So you can use it for small streams or for small channels like the watercourses or the distributaries. So the use of flumes is very similar to the use of weirs. That again, as in the weir, we measure the upstream head. So in the case of flumes, we measure the upstream head, and with the suitable formula, we can find the discharge. Now coming to the direct methods. So in the direct methods, where we can measure the velocity. So as we discussed in the first slide, that one of the method of measurement can be the method to measure the velocity. And if you measure the velocity with the help of some instrument or device, then you just multiply by the given cross-sectional area and you find out what is the discharge by using the formula Q is equal to VA. So V velocity, one of the devices which is used is the current meter. So current meter, so this is not electricity current. Current is due to the flowing of water. That is also known as the current. So current meter, it measures the velocity and we multiply it by the cross-sectional area and we determine the discharge. Likewise, floats, they are of lighter material, they float on the surface. Again, we can measure the velocity and by multiplying by the given cross-sectional area, we can find the discharge. So also we can use the tracer dilution techniques where tracers or dies can be used. So they are calibrated uh, with respect to the concentration of the dye or tracers which we are using. So more the concentration, it means less is the discharge. So it is inversely proportional. If there is more concentration, that means discharge is less. But if it is less concentration, that is more mixing, that means more discharge. Then we can use ultrasonic methods by using the acoustic pulses or signals. So we will send the acoustic pulse or the signal and have the mechanism to receive it back, and this can be calibrated to the discharge. How much time the pulse, acoustic pulse or signal takes in emitting and then receiving back. Likewise, we can use electromagnetic method where by placing an electromagnetic field on the bed, we can also measure the discharge. But these last two methods, they are rarely used. Then, as we discussed, we can use the hydraulic devices. We can use weirs, notches, orifices, flumes, and there are some indirect techniques as well. We can use the slope area method or the rating curve. So first we will discuss the float method in which we measure the velocity with the help of the floats. So floats, as you know, are the lighter material. So they float on the surface. So in the float method, we require 3 people to run this float test. So one is positioned at the upstream side and the other at the downstream side. So we have a known distance. We select a reach. So distance is known to us, and there is one person in the middle to record the data. So what is velocity? That will be the distance divided by the time. So distance is known. Just we have to record the time which the float takes place from the upstream point to the downstream point. So if we know that time, distance is known, so distance divided by time is the velocity. So the person who is standing at the upstream side, he will release the float, and uh, the stopwatch, uh, you start that stopwatch and start recording the time. And when the downstream person catches that float, so he will signal that he has caught the float, and the stopwatch is then stopped. So the third person, who is the recording data, he will record the time which the float has taken to travel from upstream point to the downstream point. So now you can determine the velocity, which is the distance traveled by the time it takes to travel that distance. So upstream to downstream side, that distance is known, time you have recorded with the help of this stopwatch. So divided by that, you can have the velocity. So at least 3 float tests should be carried out, and then you take the average velocity. So once you have this average velocity, so just multiply by the cross-sectional area, you find the discharge. So here you see in the figure, you see operator 1 on the upstream side, this starting line, and 1 operator at the downstream side. So the distance is known to us, and you divide the channel into 3 strips. So in all the 3 steps, you have to carry out this float test and then take the average. So the operator at the upstream end will release the float from the starting line, and the recorder, the third person, will record the time, how much time it takes the float to travel to the downstream operator. So 3 readings will be taken, and average will be taken to find out the velocity. But this velocity is the surface velocity, because the float is traveling on the surface, water surface. But we are not interested in the surface velocity, as this is the highest velocity. So we are interested in the average velocity. So in order to convert the surface velocity into average velocity, we multiply it by a factor of 0.8. So average velocity is 0.8 multiplied by the surface velocity. So in this way, we find out what is the average velocity, and we know the area. आप मालूम कर सकते हैं, cross-sectional area of this section. So you multiply that, you will get the discharge. So this float method is clear. तो चीज तो नहीं अच्छे से समझना है. So you might have studied this in applied hydrology as well. So this will be a repetition for you. So this you see the float method in action, the actual photograph, the 2 operators, and the third, the data recorder. So known distance, load being introduced from the starting line by the upstream operator, and the downstream operator that catches that load, and the operator, third person, who is the data recorder, records the time which the float takes in traveling from upstream to downstream side. Then we can use the dilution gauging methods. So we can use some chemical tracer, dye, or even salt. We can use common salt as well, NaCl, sodium chloride, or we can use a dye, or we can use a tracer. So potassium permanganate, KMnO4, that can be used. So as it has got a very distinct color, purple color, it can be nakedly with naked eyes you can see that color as well. If you are introducing salt like sodium chloride, you may not be able to see it, but you can find its concentration. So we can use a chemical tracer dye or salt which is exotic, that is unknown to stream. It should not already be present. If it is present, so you should first measure what is the concentration which is already present in the stream. Then that tracer dye or salt should be stable and it should be non-toxic. It should not harm the aquatic life. It should be cheap. It should not be very expensive. Even you can use radioactive materials. So radioactive materials, they can be traced uh, with great certainty, but they are harmful for the aquatic life due to the radioactive uh, rays which will be taking place, and they will be harmful for the aquatic life. So these are not allowed in the natural streams. Then the tracer dye or salt, it should be detectable because you have to find its concentration. So you have to carry out the mass balance on concentrations, both upstream and downstream, and by utilizing the formula, you can find out what is the discharge. So different types of methods can be used: the constant injection method or the sudden injection method. So you inject at known rate for some time period, you carry out the mass balance, you utilize these equations and find out the discharge given at the bottom by finding out the concentration of the tracer upstream and the concentration at the downstream. So in this way, we can find out what is the discharge. So uh, this figure is showing you the salt dilution method. So there is a Marriott bottle in which uh, the solution is prepared, and at a constant rate you inject that solution, and you can then collect the downstream samples, and you can have the upstream and the downstream samples uh, concentration being measured in the lab or on the field as well, and you prepare the concentration curve. So if you prepare the concentration curve based on the constant rate injection method, so you will see the concentration will slowly increase with respect to time, and then it will become constant. And when it becomes constant for some time, then you stop the injecting that salt, dye, or tracer, and then this concentration, it starts decreasing. So this is the method used for the concentrate injection, that you inject the dye solution or the tracer at a concentrate upstream, and you measure the concentration both at the upstream and the downstream side with different time intervals. You plot the curve, and with the help of formula, you can then find out the chart. So dilution gauging technique is very suitable for the flows, especially which are taking place in the mountainous streams, as uh, the velocity is very higher there. So mixing, it takes place very effectively. So also it is useful in the condition where you cannot use devices like current meters because the water is rapidly flowing and you cannot enter the stream and wade through it to measure the velocity with the help of current meters. So there you can utilize this dilution technique. So uh, in dilution techniques, you just introduce a tracer dye or the salt from the upstream side and you start making the measurements of the concentrations by taking samples both upstream and downstream, and then in the suitable formula you find out what is the discharge. So two methods are used. So in the sudden injection method, you can utilize this formula to find the Q. So here all the parameters have been defined here. What is the volume which is injected, the concentration of the chemical in dosing solution, the concentration of chemical which is already present. If that chemical is not present, then C naught will be 0, and C2 is the concentration of chemical in water at sampling downstream side. So just by uh, substituting the values of these parameters in question 5.9, you can find out the discharge value. Or the second method, the constant rate of injection. So different formula is used. So in this method, you are constantly injecting that solution or the trace or the chemical with the same rate. So here the formula is Q is equal to, here is the correction, ये n इसमें capital N, there is no parameters as n, so ये n कोई चीज नहीं है, it is just C3Q divided by C2. So small q is the constant rate of injection of chemical as it is known to you, क्योंकि constant rates of inject कर रहे हैं, और C3 is the difference in concentration at dosing and sampling point, जो difference है upstream और downstream concentration का, वो C3 की value है, और C2 is the concentration of chemical in water at sampling point. So substituting the three parameters, you can find out the value of Q. So in order to illustrate this method, we take up an example here. So a 30 gram per liter solution of a chemical was discharged into a stream at a constant rate of 10 by 10 to the power minus 6 cubics. So this is an example of constant rate injection method. The same chemical was not found in stream water at all. So that means the C naught value is 0 because this is the chemical which is not found in the stream naturally. The concentration of chemical at sampling section that was found to be 5,000 parts per million ppm, and we have to estimate the stream discharge. So from the question 5.10, we have this question Q is equal to Q C1 minus C2 divided by C2 minus C0. So C0, C naught, that is the chemical which is naturally found in the stream, but in this case, there is no such chemical naturally occurring in that stream. So this value will be 0. So small q, the rate is given to us, that was 10 into 10 to the power minus 6 cubics. So q value is given. Now the rate C1 was 30 grams per liter. So this was discharged. So you convert it into gallons per milliliter. So it becomes 0.03 gallons per milliliter. Not gallons, grams. 30 grams per milliliter. So in 1 liter, there is 1000 milliliters. Now the C2, that is the concentration of chemical at the downstream side, that is the sampling section, was found to be 5,000 parts per million. So now in order to keep the units consistent, we have to convert this ppm to grams per milliliter. So you divide it by किससे किया हुआ 10,000 से किया हुआ 5,000 क्योंकि पार्ट्स पर मिलियन है, सो 10⁶ से डिवाइड करेंगे तो ये आ जाएगा 0.005 इंटू 10⁻⁻6 grams per milliliter. So C naught 0. So all values now known to us. So इस इक्वेशन में सब्स्टिट्यूट कर दें तो Q की वैल्यू भी है हमारे पास, C1 भी है, C2 भी. So substituting all this, we find that the discharge is 60 cubics. So सिर्फ कन्वर्जन का ख्याल रखेंगे कि ये पार्ट्स पर मिलियन है और आपको ग्राम्स पर मिलीलीटर में कन्वर्ट करना. So here you have to see that it should be.
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ जी, यहाँ पर मेरे ख्याल वो होने चाहिए, यूनिट्स का ख्याल रखना होगा. हाँ जी, आप क्या पूछते हैं?
Sir, what is C naught, and is it right to take only one sample of the downstream, because the concentration would differ in different parts of the downstream section? So only one section will work, sir?
हाँ जी, यू सेलेक्ट ए रीच, एक रीच आप सेलेक्ट कर लेते हैं और ये सडन इंजेक्शन मेथड नहीं है, कॉन्सेंट्रेट मेथड है. सो एक ही रेट से आप इसको जो है वो इंड्यूस कर रहे हैं. सो सी नॉट जो है वो केमिकल है जो कि नेचुरली अगर अकर कर रहा है. सो ये हमें दिया हुआ था कि द सेम केमिकल वाज नॉट फाउंड इन स्ट्रीम वाटर एट ऑल. अगर ये पहले से वो आपने कंसंट्रेशन वो भी नोट करनी है क्योंकि वो सब्ट्रैक्ट हो जाएगी C2 से. लेकिन इस केस में C नॉट 0 है क्योंकि पहले से अकर नहीं कर रहा. दिस केमिकल इज अननोन टू दिस स्ट्रीम. ये वो अननोन था, पहले से मौजूद नहीं था. और C1 क्योंकि हम कांस्टेंट रेट है तो वो तो वही रहेगा. C2 जो है वो हमने डाउन स्ट्रीम पर हमने फाइंड आउट किए कि व्हाट वाज द कंसंट्रेशन. वो हमें लैब में पता लगी कि वो 5,000 पार्ट्स पर मिलियन थी, जिसको ग्राम पर मिलीलीटर में. क्योंकि हमारे पास जो C1 है वो भी हमने ग्राम पर मिलीलीटर में रखा हुआ है. सो इनको आपने कन्वर्ट करके देखना और बाकी इक्वेशन में तो कोई चीज़ नहीं है. Q की वैल्यू जो इंजेक्शन रेट है वो गिवन है, कांस्टेंट था वो. C1 C2 की वैल्यू दी हुई है, C नॉट की वैल्यू 0 है. तो यू जस्ट सब्स्टिट्यूट दैट एंड यू फाइंड आउट इट इज 60 मीटर क्यूब पर सेकेंड. अच्छा, यहाँ पर ये है कि जो पार्ट्स पर मिलियन है ये 10⁶ होगा और इसको फिर लीटर में आएगा, लीटर से फिर कन्वर्ट करेंगे मिलीलीटर में. सो दैट वाई यू सी इट हैज बिकम -9. नहीं, अच्छा ये ठीक है, ये इसने इसको इधर शिफ्ट किया, 5 × 10⁻⁻9 हो जाएगा. 0.005 के बजाय डेसिमल पॉइंट 3 आप शिफ्ट कर रहे हैं तो ये 3 पावर बढ़ जाएगी. अब बाकी ठीक है. सो सिर्फ पार्ट्स पर मिलियन को कन्वर्ट करने का देख लें कि ग्राम पर मिलीलीटर में आपने किससे उसको डिवाइड किया. सो क्लियर हो गए पॉइंट? कोई चीज़ समझ नहीं आई? हाँ, ये कन्वर्शन देख लें, गूगल पर भी चेक कर लें कन्वर्शन. हाँ, ये थोड़ा सा मे बी यहाँ पर कुछ कंफ्यूजन लग रहा है आपको, उनके यूनिट सेम नहीं है, ये ppm में आ गए. तो ये चेक कर लेना कि ये सही कन्वर्ट हुआ है कि नहीं. सो हमने दो मेथड्स देखेंगे जहाँ हमने वेलोसिटी मालूम कर दी है. सो वेलोसिटी हमने देखा कि हम एक तो फ्रंट मीटर से भी यूज़ कर सकते हैं, फ्लोट से भी इसके अलावा हम जो डिल्यूशन टेक्निक यूज़ कर सकते हैं. So what or beside these methods, what other methods we can use? So already we have studied the relationship between stage and discharge, that is known as the rating curve. तो अगर हमें किसी तरह स्टेज पता लग जाए, so also we can make use of the rating curve and find out the discharge indirectly. और क्योंकि डेली तो आप डिस्चार्ज मेजरमेंट नहीं कर सकते हैं, so but daily you can read the stage, and with using the rating curve you can find out the discharge. So the second way can be to use the stages. So stages, they can be measured through the gauges, different types of gauges, the recording type of gauges, the manual gauges जहाँ पर आपको ऑब्जर्वेशन आपको रिकॉर्ड करनी पड़ती है खुद मैनुअली, और एक है रिकॉर्डिंग जिसमें ऑटोमेटिकली योर स्टेजेस और द लेवल्स, वाटर लेवल, दे आर रिकॉर्डेड. तो लाइक ए वेयर, जिस तरह के आपको वहाँ पर भी स्टेज मेजर करनी पड़ती है और दी हेड, एंड यू सब्स्टिट्यूट इन दी फार्मूला, वहाँ से भी आपको निकलाएगा. लेकिन अगर जस्ट आप एक रेटिंग कर्व इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, तो रेटिंग कर्व में अगर आपको स्टेज की वैल्यू नोन है, यू कैन फाइंड आउट व्हाट इज द डिस्चार्ज. So also the stages, as they can be of different types, recording and the non-recording. So non-recording में stage में आपको खुद जाके पढ़नी पड़ती है रेटिंग. Like you see here, a stop gauge, the reading has to be read manually by the observer, and you can, as we discussed in the previous lecture, कि हम gauges कौन कौन सी इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. So हमने देखा था कि वहाँ स्टाफ गेजेस हैं जो कि वर्टिकल भी हो सकती हैं, इंक्लाइंड भी हो सकती हैं, और स्पेशल टाइप की गेजेस भी हो सकती हैं जो कि हाईएस्ट वाटर लेवल रिकॉर्ड करती हैं, जिनको हमने कहा था क्रेस्ट गेजेस, जिनमें आपको याद है कि कॉर्क, तो मटेरियल जो है वो ग्रेनुलेटेड कॉर्क, पीसेस ऑफ कॉर्क यूज़ होते हैं, और वो लिफ्ट होते हैं वाटर के साथ, एंड व्हेन वाटर लेवल गोज डाउन, बट दोज pieces of cork, they stick to the gauge, and you can know what was the highest water level. Likewise, पानी जो है अपने निशान छोड़ जाता है. अब आप ये देखें, डेब्रिस लाइन स्टेब्लिश हो गई है. अगर कोई बिल्डिंग है या दरख्त है, उसके पर भी आपको आ जाती है डेब्रिस की, ये यहाँ तक पानी आ जाता है. तो दीज आर वेरी हेल्पफुल इन द स्लोप एरिया मेथड, कि आप इनडायरेक्टली डिस्चार्ज मालूम कर सकते हैं कि वो पीक फ्लड थी, उसको क्या पीक थी, क्या डिस्चार्ज था आफ्टर द फ्लड पीक हैज पास्ड अवे. सो वो हमारे पास इनडायरेक्ट मेथड आ जाता है. सो वाटर लेवल रिकॉर्डर, दे आर द रिकॉर्डिंग इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स वेयर द continuous record of the water level is being maintained, and these are usually placed in the stilling wells. The stilling wells के अंदर लेवल आपका स्टेबल हो और वेव एक्शन या विंड एक्शन से ये अप एंड डाउन ना मूव कर रहा है. अगर आप इसको ओपनली यहाँ पर मेजर करने की कोशिश करेंगे तो स्टेज पढ़नी बहुत मुश्किल हो जाती है, क्योंकि ये वेव एक्शन की वजह से ऊपर नीचे लेवल हो रहा होगा. बट व्हेन यू take this reading in a water level reading in a stilling well, so here the wave action or the wind action, that is taken care of. यहाँ पर बहुत still calm होगा, और जो आप easily continuous record, वो जो mechanism of recording उससे obtain कर सकते हैं. Can be daily, weekly और monthly basis पे. तो दिस इज द वाटर लेवल रिकॉर्डर. ये हमने डिटेल में पहले भी डिस्कस किया. फ्लोट है, काउंटर वेट है, पुली है, और एक ग्राफ पेपर है जिसके ऊपर ये जो मूवमेंट है फ्लोट की वो सारी रिकॉर्ड होगी। तो दिस इज द रेटिंग कर्व, एक डिस्चार्ज वर्सेस स्टेज। तो अगर आपके पास स्टेज की रेटिंग है तो जस्ट आप यहाँ से स्टेज हॉरिजॉन्टल लाइन ड्रॉ करें इस कर्व तक, और देन वर्टिकल लाइन ड्रॉ करके डिस्चार्ज की वैल्यू आप कर सकते हैं। So way of measuring discharge. This is a typical rating curve. Stage on the y-axis and discharge on the x-axis. So यहाँ पर कोई भी स्टेज के अगेंस्ट डिस्चार्ज निकाल सकते हैं। But during a flood, this rating curve will not be helpful because the stage may be more than that. तो वहाँ पर आपको फिर आगे जाके हम देखेंगे either you have to extend this rating curve or you have to employ some other methods. Then we come to the velocity area method. क्योंकि हमने फ्लोट से तो velocity measure कर ली, अब हम कोई और मेथड देखेंगे कि velocity कैसे measure की जा सकती है. So concept is that you have to determine the velocity and by multiplying by the given cross-sectional area to find out the discharge. So what you need is the cross-sectional area and the average current velocity. So in the velocity area method, the channel into subsections and measuring the velocity in each of these subsections, we find the average velocity. So in this way, if you can say sum all the of the velocity in these subsections, you can find out, and multiplying it by the respective cross-sectional area of these subsections, you can have the total discharge of that specific channel. So this I will explain you with the help of these illustrations. So discharge Q is equal to area into velocity. So cross-sectional area, this is the cross-sectional area. So this is very irregular, multiplied by the water velocity. So irregular cross-sectional area, difficult to measure. For simplification, what we do is we divide it into numerous subsections, rectangular numerous subsections. तो कुछ आप रेक्टेंगुलर सेक्शन देखेंगे, उनका एरिया मोर देन दी चैनल है, उस चैनल से बाहर आ जाता है, और कुछ का आप देखेंगे कि एरिया कम है। तो इसका मतलब है कि समहाउ ये बैलेंस कर देंगे, कुछ ओवर एस्टिमेट है, कुछ अंडर एस्टिमेट। बट फाइंडिंग द एरिया ऑफ ए रेक्टेंगल इज सिंपलर एज कंपेयर टू फाइंडिंग द एरिया क्रॉस सेक्शन एरिया ऑफ ए इरेगुलर बॉडी। सो वो ज़्यादा मुश्किल है। सो आसान ये है कि इनको आप रेक्टेंगुलर सब सेक्शन में डिवाइड कर लें, तो कुछ जो है वो ओवर एस्टिमेट हो जाएंगे, कुछ अंडर एस्टिमेट, और एक दूसरे को जो बैलेंस करते हैं। सो इन दिस वे वी हैव दी क्रॉस सेक्शनल एरिया, और हर जो सब सेक्शन है उसका एरिया, ये रेक्टेंगल का एरिया, इसको मल्टीप्लाई कर देंगे जो इसके अंदर वेलोसिटी है, हमारे पास ये सब डिस्चार्ज आ जाएगा एक सेक्शन का। ऐसे ही अगर हम सबके मालूम कर लें और सबको सम कर लें, so that will be our total discharge flowing in this stream. So this is the concept or behind this velocity area method. So we divide the stream into subsections, or especially taking the rectangular sections, और ये आप देखेंगे ये ओवर एस्टिमेट कर रहा है और यहाँ पर ये अंडर एस्टिमेट हो रहा है। सो दिस विल ओवरऑल बैलेंस। तो कहीं पर ये अंडर एस्टिमेट है, कहीं पर ओवर एस्टिमेट है। सो सम एरिया यू सी इज इंक्लूडेड, सम एरिया इज नॉट इंक्लूडेड। सो ओवरऑल रफली ये बैलेंस कर देगा। सो देन एट ईच point we will in the subsection find the velocity, multiply by the respective subsection. So हमारे पास आ जाएगा, और अगर हम सबको सम अप कर लें तो हमारे पास टोटल डिस्चार्ज होगा. So this has been illustrated here. Area is width into depth, and you measure the velocity with the help of a current meter. So current meter, it is the flow current, the flowing of water. So the total discharge will be the areas, the sub areas multiplied by their respective velocities. So सबको आप ऐड कर लेंगे, सम अप कर लेंगे, so this will giving you the total discharge. So now we measure the velocity with the help of a device known as the current meter. So current meter basically are of two types: the type price cup type current meter and the pygmy, that is the shorter version of the current meter cup type, and other is the propeller type. So different being the cup type, there are conical rotate in the horizontal direction, whereas in the propeller type, the cups they rotate in the vertical direction or vertical dimension, like the aeroplane का अगर आपने इंजन देखा होगा आपने, उसका किस तरह वो रोटेट कर रहा होता है. So it is the propeller type, but the cup type it resembles like a water wheel. पुराने जमाने में आपने देखा होगा कुओं के ऊपर पानी निकाला जाता था, एक वाटर व्हील होता था जिसमें बकेट्स होती थी, और जब वो बकेट नीचे जाती थी, they were filled with water and then they used to come up. So same is the like a cup type price current meter, और proper propeller type जो है वो उसकी वाइड डायरेक्शन के अंदर उसकी मूवमेंट है. So the velocity actually, because it is rotating around an axis, so it gives you the angular velocity. वो आपको angular velocity देता है. Interested to know the linear velocity, so we have to then convert linear velocity. So the formula is used as a plus b into n. So a is the starting velocity to overcome mechanical friction. उनके कप है या प्रोपेलर्स हैं, वो मूव नहीं करते क्योंकि उनमें फ्रिक्शन जरूर होगा. कोई भी आइडियल मशीनरी नहीं है इसमें फ्रिक्शन ना हो. So that's why there should be some factor which takes care of this friction over start जो start करने के लिए आप overcome करने के लिए friction, that is the A. This is given by the manufacturer of the current meter, and B is the equipment calibration constant. So ये इस्तेमाल हम करते हैं ताकि हम angular velocity से linear, and n are the revolutions per second. The values of A and B, they are given by the manufacturer, and all we have to do is to count the n values, revolutions per second हमने निकालना कि एक सेकंड में कितने revolutions हैं या 1 मिनट के अंदर कितने, सिर्फ हमने वो मेजर करना. बाकी A B की वैल्यू हमारे पास ऑलरेडी गिवन है. So this is the difference between the two. So ये आप देखें conical cups जो कि horizontal direction में मूव करते हैं, whereas the propeller, so wing type आप देखें जो कि दूसरी डायरेक्शन में आपकी वर्टिकल डायरेक्शन के अंदर वो की मूवमेंट है. So price current meter is used where you encounter debris or the sediments, and propeller they are used where water is silt free and free of debris. Mostly जो आपका स्नो मेल्ट वाटर है उसके अंदर प्रोपेलर टाइप ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव है, बिकॉज it is not affected by the debris या कोई सेडिमेंट्स आ रहे हैं उसके अंदर मौजूद नहीं है, so it will be working perfectly efficiently there. But the conical type या प्राइस करंट मीटर, ये जो हमारे सिल्ट रिलेटेड रिवर्स हैं उनके लिए मोर सूटेबल. So we cannot use propeller type in our type of rivers जिनके अंदर डेब्रीज भी बहुत हैं और आपके जो सिल्ट रिलेटेड रिवर्स हैं, सिल्ट और सेडिमेंट लोड बहुत हैवी है. सो बेसिकली ये कप्स हैं, कॉनिकल कप्स, और ये कप्स की देखें कि टेल है और ये साउंडिंग वेट है जो इसको स्ट्रेट रखता है ताकि ये वर्टिकली नीचे इमर्स हो सके वाटर में. और यहाँ एक कॉन्टैक्ट चेम्बर है और यहाँ पर हम नंबर ऑफ क्लिक्स काउंट करते हैं. जब ये एक अपनी रोटेशन कंप्लीट कर लेता है सो सिंगल क्लिक जनरेटेड. सो जो ऑब्जर्वर है वो हेडफोन लगा के नंबर ऑफ क्लिक्स काउंट करता है तो विद इन ए गिवन टाइम अगर 1 मिनट में कितने क्लिक्स हुए हैं, तो जितना ज़्यादा डिस्चार्ज होगा उतने ज़्यादा नंबर ऑफ क्लिक्स वो रिकॉर्ड करेगा एक खास टाइम के अंदर. और जितना डिस्चार्ज कम होगा तो वो बड़े आराम से नंबर ऑफ क्लिक्स काउंट कर सकता है. लेकिन जब डिस्चार्ज ज़्यादा होगा तो ये कप्स बड़ी तेज़ी से घूमेंगे और नंबर ऑफ क्लिक्स दे विल बी वेरी फास्ट, उनको गिनना काफ़ी मुश्किल हो जाता है. तो ये एक और तस्वीर है. तो ये जस्ट लाइक एरोप्लेन्स के आपने देखे होंगे इंजन जो हैं वो प्रोपेलर टाइप्स हैं, बट दीज आर सुटेबल फॉर लैब स्केल्स. और आजकल डिजिटल भी आ रहे हैं कि डायरेक्ट आपको रीडिंग दे देते हैं. तो अनदर व्यू ऑफ द प्राइस करंट मीटर. सो हैविंग द कोनिकल कप्स, पानी जब इन पर स्ट्राइक करता है तो ये मूवमेंट इनकी स्टार्ट हो जाती है. और ये इसकी टेल है, ये साउंडिंग वेट है और इट कैन बी लोवर्ड विद द हेल्प ऑफ ए वायर. आप इसको लोड नीचे लोअर भी कर सकते हैं, वेट भी कर सकते हैं. ये मुख्तलिफ तरीके पड़ेंगे आगे जाते हैं इसमें. साइड डेट वी कैन यूज पिटॉट ट्यूब्स. हम पिटॉट ट्यूब्स भी यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन पिटॉट ट्यूब्स आपने लैब में इस्तेमाल की होंगी. डेट इज सुटेबल ओनली फॉर क्लीन वाटर. कि अगर कोई डेब्रिस या कोई सेडिमेंट आ जाएगा तो दे विल बी ब्लॉक. और फ्लोट्स दे आर मोर सुटेबल फॉर स्ट्रेट चैनल्स. और फ्लोट्स जो है वो सरफेस फ्लोट्स भी हैं, सब सरफेस फ्लोट्स भी हैं. बिकॉज अगर विंड, if there is wind blowing, then the velocity will not be accurately recorded by floats, क्योंकि wind उनको और aid करेगा movement में, तो actual वो true velocity नहीं होगी. So that's why floats you cannot use all the time, और especially straight channel में use किया जा सकता है. So यहाँ पर मैं I will stop here and next time I will complete this lecture. It is a long lecture, so I will complete it in 2 stages. ये माइक किसका चल रहा है? ऑन होगा. So these are mostly you have already studied in your applied hydrology class as well. तो रिवीजन के लिए या जो स्टूडेंट्स जिन्होंने ये पहले नहीं पढ़ा कोर्स, because we have some students from geotech as well, so this might be something new for them. Otherwise this is revision for the water resources students. So अटेंडेंस अपनी आप वहीं पर लगा दें वो आर प्रेजेंट MS Teams के पर. So I will take attendance from there. So कोई चीज़ पूछनी हो तो वो आप you can ask any clarification.